The Wanderer and Other Old English Poems is a collection of poetry translated and edited by Michael Alexander, gathering some of the finest examples of Anglo-Saxon poetry delicately illustrated by Alan Lee. This particular edition was published by Folio Society in 2026, based on their stunning 2018 limited edition. Each poem has the original Old English text on the left-hand page and Michael Alexander's translation on the right. Even though I have zero knowledge of the language, I keep glancing to the left, making comparisons, and it's interesting to see how concise Old English is compared to its modern counterpart. The words are shorter, the sentences are simpler, yet they manage to convey so much. The translations do a good job of balancing the meaning and the spirit of the poetry, and Michael Alexander seems to have been aware that something like this requires a more creative approach, along with the knowledge of the language, its history and evolution. Most of the poetry is divided into categories, namely the love poems, heroic poems, proverbs and riddles, although multiple poems are unique enough to stand on their own, outside any category. The book also contains quite a long, informative introduction and useful notes in the back, going over various words, phrases, names, and references with which someone like myself would have trouble. If you are only interested in the text of this book, and by some miracle you don't care about the illustrations, it can also be found in the form of a Penguin Classics paperback titled The Earliest English Poems, or in the more streamlined, newer edition titled The First Poems in English, although I'm not quite sure exactly how much content they share with this folio edition. There are 8 color illustrations in total, produced at a level of quality we've grown to expect from Alan Lee, along with a good number of black and white drawings, including standalone illustrations, decorative borders and chapter headers. His work, of course, is best known in the context of Tolkien illustrations, and here he has gone full circle and made some wonderful art for the sort of literature that influenced Tolkien himself. His style is perfectly suited for this, with its sort of dignified melancholy present in so much of the Old English poetry. All of the illustrations were printed on the same paper used for the rest of the book, which is a bit uncharacteristic for Folio Society. In my experience, they tend to print the color plates on separate, glossy pages for the best quality of reproduction, but in this case I believe they made a compromise in order to have consistency between the black and white borders and ornaments throughout the book. In the limited edition, this problem was solved by having the watercolor reproductions tipped in by hand, meaning they were printed on high-quality glossy paper and glued on the pages, placing them inside the decorative borders which were printed on the same paper as the rest of the book. This sort of solution was popular in the gift books from the golden age of illustration, but it has fallen out of fashion due to advancing technologies and, of course, cutting costs. They did the same thing with the recent limited edition of The Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. I think the solution works fine here, The paper used by Folio is a perfect shade of very bright cream, very pleasant to the touch, I might add. But sadly, I fear we are not seeing this artwork in full glory. Another point of slight criticism I have concerns the pen and ink illustrations. The borders around the color plates look quite nice, as well as the ones illustrating the riddles and the round framed chapter dividers. It all works pretty well for the most part. But the smaller, intricate, extremely detailed headpieces and the ornamental flourishes at the tops and bottoms of the pages are simply too difficult to parse with the naked eye. This could be a result of the line work being simply too thin for this size of book, and I assume it worked much better with the larger format of the limited edition. But the lines look so pale at this size that it seems to me almost like they were printed in grey instead of black. They're still quite beautiful as a design element, but I'm afraid a lot of their magic is lost when I can barely tell what they are trying to depict. Which is especially sad since there are so many of them and they differ from poem to poem. It's not like they just recycled the same ones across the book. Clearly a lot of love and thought had gone into making them. However, the only possible solution to this issue would be creating completely new illustrations, which is of course too much to ask. And I am still glad they decided to carry over all of the drawings from the limited edition, even if the results are a bit diminished. The book is bound in cloth, with silver gilding and a gilded top edge, and comes in a simple cloth-covered dark blue slipcase. I love the overall design, the combination of silver and gold and blue and cream, and the round sunken label on the front cover, it all just works really well. There is also a nice gold ribbon marker, which is something I only recently started seeing in folio releases. Well, that would be all for now. Thank you all for watching, and Wesathie Hale.